Originality is overrated, at least in video games. Sure, it's nice to play games that do new things and give players new experiences, but imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Some games blatantly rip off other games, but they improve on the formula. That's what good games do. And you won't believe the story behind our final entry. It's one of the most famous games ever made, and it's a pretty surprising history behind it. Before we begin, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all our videos. Without further ado, here are 5 video game rip-offs that were better than the original. Red Dead Redemption. Can a company rip itself off? Let's think about that. For the sake of this video, let's go ahead and assume it can. Because without the Grand Theft Auto series, there's zero chance Rockstar could have produced Red Dead Redemption. This beloved open-world western takes all the best ideas from Grand Theft Auto and transplants them into the Old West circa 1911. What's the difference between GTA and RDR? For starters, in the Old West, the streets aren't paved and they're not teeming with cars. You can travel half the map without running into another soul. It's actually kind of nice not having to worry about accidentally running down a pedestrian and having the pesky police chase you around. There are much more differences than just that though. Instead of having the drug trade revolve around marijuana, opium is the vice of the day. And rather than parachuting from airplanes for fun, you play cards and herd sheep. Life was quieter back then. Or was it? Because just like in GTA, Red Dead Redemption features an array of deplorable bad guys you can blast to bits in massive shootouts. If your aim is true, the bodies of your enemies will pile up to the rafters. In both series, you're basically a good guy who's forced to do bad things. And in both cases, it's often the supposed good guys who push you to go outside the law. Well, that's just life in the Old West, I reckon. The Witcher 3. When it first came out, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim was a monumental achievement. It still is, really, and most of us have played it, thanks to Bethesda's habit of bringing it to nearly every device capable of running software. Seriously, this thing's gonna be on your toaster before long. For now, you can play Skyrim on everything from Nintendo Switch to PlayStation VR and Xbox 360 to PS4 and PC. That's a good thing, but it'd be even better if The Witcher 3 was readily available. That's because The Witcher 3 does just about everything Skyrim does, but better. Where Skyrim's combat is flat and boring, The Witcher's is hard-hitting and exciting. Where Skyrim's story and side quests drag along after a while, Witcher's go deep and deeper still. The Witcher 3 is like if you took Game of Thrones and dipped it in a cauldron of Eastern European folklore. It has wraiths and vampires. It has a murderous baby. It has witches so terrifying they could give your nightmares nightmares. It has nudity, violence, and a salty bard. Just when you thought there couldn't possibly be any more to the game, The Witcher 3 ships off to a whole new island, just as big as the continent you were on. No game should be this big or this brilliant, but The Witcher 3 is. Castlevania: Symphony of the Night. There's a type of game that has you running around an environment filled with blocked-off areas you can only access by gaining new abilities. For instance, maybe there's a wide pit you can't cross until you learn a double jump. This genre is called Metroidvania because the design is obviously inspired by Super Metroid and Castlevania. But calling it Metroidvania is misleading. Sure, the original Metroid and Castlevania were both released in 1986, but Super Metroid came out 3 years before Symphony of the Night, and it established nearly everything the game would later borrow. The game is really just a Super Metroid ripoff. But if that makes you want to go and start trashing Castlevania, hold up, ripoff or not, Symphony of the Night is a better game than Super Metroid. It didn't come first, but it expanded the genre and turned it into a template so many later games could copy. It added a whole heap of ideas and gameplay elements that gave it a leg up. It has a leveling system, enemy loot drops, friendly familiars, and even a secret post-game section that's just as big as the main game. And because the protagonist, Alucard, is part vampire, he can learn awesome transformations that morph him into a wolf, a bat, and even mist. Let's see Samus do that. Rock Band. When it comes to Guitar Hero and Rock Band, it's not exactly clear which one ripped off the other. The first Guitar Hero came out back in 2005 when the world needed an injection of rock and roll. Rock and roll, woo! That's when Coldplay was hot and the Black Eyed Peas were talking about lovely lady lumps. Yeah, remember that? Developed by Harmonix and published by Activision, Guitar Hero made you feel like a rock god as you strummed a guitar-shaped controller to legendary rock songs. Carry on my wayward son. The series was a hit and posed to become a mainstay at parties in the mid-2000s. All it needed was more instruments so more people could play at once. But then MTV Games swooped in and bought Harmonix, leaving Activision without a developer for the hit series. Activision wasn't gonna let this cash cow go to waste, so it enlisted developer Neversoft to make the next game. Meanwhile, MTV had Harmonix create a Guitar Hero clone of its own called Rock Band. Rock Band supported 2 guitars, a drum set, and a microphone. It also came with a hit-filled library of songs by artists like the Rolling Stones and Metallica. We're a long way from Napster, huh? Neversoft and Activision countered with a similar full-band game called Guitar Hero World Tour. Which game ripped off the other is up for debate, but one thing isn't: Music Game Mania ended with landfills piled high with plastic instruments. Miss Pac-Man. If you've seen the cutscenes in Miss Pac-Man, you probably know she and Mr. Pac-Man are a couple of young yellow spheres who meet, fall in love, and have a baby. What you might not know is that Miss Pac-Man harbors a dark secret from her past, one she would do anything to keep hidden from her clueless husband. Miss Pac-Man might have ended up being the official sequel to Pac-Man, but she didn't start out that way. Oh no. She started out as an unlicensed rip-off of Pac-Man. The original Miss Pac-Man shamelessly stole every single idea Pac-Man had brought to the table. Then Miss Pac-Man's developers improved on nearly all of those ideas. Which means Miss Pac-Man is a much better game than the one starring her dopey husband. And to this day, the bumbling idiot has no clue. It all started when two MIT students who loved the original game got a hold of a Pac-Man arcade cabinet and started tinkering. They made refinements to the level layouts and to the Ghost AI. They also made very minor tweaks to the graphics. The resulting game was a blatant ripoff, and Midway, Pac-Man's distributor, lawyered up to sue the charlatans who ripped him off. But once Midway realized the ripoff was even better than Pac-Man, they bought it and rebranded it as Miss Pac-Man. Let's hope her moronic yellow husband never finds out. Not all ripoffs are worse than the originals. Is there a video game ripoff you think is awesome? Be sure to let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the great video content in our playlist. Thanks for watching.